Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording this show on Friday, June 19th, 2020. Got to tell you, folks, this week's podcast will be a departure from our usual format, largely because after reading the story that Drew wrote for Collider earlier this week, ranking all of the Toy Story movies and the short films from best to worst, I'm not talking to Mr. Taylor right now.
That bad, Jim. That bad. Wow.
Toy Story 2, seventh on your list?
It's more of a retread. It doesn't depart as stylistically as the other sequels do, which is why it's seventh. And I also am an unapologetic fan of the holiday specials and some of the short films. So, I had to go out there. Jim, nobody wants to read the same list over and over again,
I get that, but Toy Story 4 is number one?
Yeah. I've had some time to think about this. Jim, you didn't even see it until home video. You were probably making dinner at the same time. It's
Okay, let me just put another opinion out there. That the Toy Story 4 is kind of Pixar's Meet the Robinsons. I mean, it's got a lot of characters and a lot of very busy action scenes, and there's good, solid work in this movie. But the thing that really redeems it is it sticks the landing.
Right.
I mean, the last 10 minutes of this thing, it's wonderful. It makes brave, bold choices. But come on, the scene in the RV where the toys have taken control and they're driving back to the fairground. I mean, if that were in a Blue Sky or an Illuminations film, people they would attack it. And your mileage may vary. I would suggest go over, read the piece at Collider. I mean, it's an interesting read, but seven.
Who knows, Jim? There may be future installments, and I'll have to redo this list. And maybe when I do that, I'll take a long, hard look at myself in the mirror and reposition Toy Story 2 just for you, Jim. Just for you.
All right. That's all.
Also, just the Toy Story 2 looks really rough these days. Almost rougher than the first one. But whatever.
I'm not going to fight you on that. You're not wrong. Every so often, Freeform will run like all three of the ones that are available. And I think Toy Story 4 is headed there now. And you're right. You look at the first film now, and story-wise, still holds up beautifully. But animation-wise, it's woo.
Yeah.
And 2, all right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I guess we should also talk about here, you had a crazy busy week. You did epic length piece about Atlantis, the Lost Expedition, and how everything involved with the creation of the film. That is a killer read as well.
Very thorough. It's very thorough. That's all I'll say.
And likewise, your Dick Tracy, killer piece.
Thank you.
Given that the two of us were lucky enough to get invited to check out Over the Moon, the new Netflix.
Were we on the same call, Jim? Were you at the 10 a.m. PST time? Or are you 10:30?
I think I might have been 10. No, wait a minute. I was 8:30 and 10 a.m.
Oh, okay, great.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on the same page. I liked a lot of what I saw. We're assuming the trailer is dropping on like the 23rd.
The trailer is dropping on Tuesday. So yeah, people will have seen it by now.
It's Glenn Keane. So some wonderful, strong posing, some great character work. It's coming to the marketplace at a very interesting time when, we have this crazy level of tension existing between the United States and China. And this is really kind of a love letter to Chinese culture. And in fact, Glenn was telling those great stories about when they were working on the movie and how so often he was dragged come into our house, sit down and have a meal, that how much of the story they had to rework where it's like, most family discussions happen around the dinner table.
Right.
What's your take?
I'm hopefully optimistic, let's say.
Okay.
It looks a lot. This is a Pearl Studios co-production. And I was trying to get some information about what Sony was doing on it. Mm-hmm. Apparently they're just helping with the pipeline, I guess, and some other things. Mm-hmm. It looks a lot like Abominable, which was the last Pearl Studios movie. Did you ever end up seeing that, Jim?
There's this ever-increasing pile of things I have to get to, and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah.
But to your point, though, they did talk about, as part of the Over the Moon presentations, how in this case, they opted to go with a waterfront city. They wanted, a different look, at least for the location. I mean, because Abominable, was very much, or at least when it started, inner city, urban.
Yeah, definitely more mainland for sure.
Hmm.
But it reminds me of a story. I talked to John Sanford, who was the head of story
Hmm.
on Atlantis for that piece, and he told me, that people just make movies at Netflix and don't get any feedback back.
Hmm.
It's like he said, you talk to Kirk and Gary, and they say, yeah, I mean, Atlantis, we did what they could. You talk to somebody, the director of Klaus, and he says, nope, it's exactly what I wanted. Everything is on the screen. All you have to do is hit budgets and schedules, and that's all that matters. So I will be very interested to see if Glenn was given that same kind of freedom and what that freedom wound up with. Because, we should tell the story at some point about the torturous early production on Tangled and his involvement and wanting to push all sorts of new technologies. Do you remember that that program that was supposed to replicate brushstrokes?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember his kind of lengthy conversation about looking on screen and you could almost see the calories, that almost butter-like quality.
Right.
Yeah, Glenn really put in a lot of time at Disney, and especially on Rapunzel, and then Rapunzel and Braided, and it's kind of the anti-Netflix. Disney was nothing but notes at that point. So yeah, it will be kind of interesting to see, if he gets to deliver the film he wanted to make.
Yeah.
Which again, I guess we should let people know it's really about a little girl who loses her mom.
Yes.
Fairly young, and her dad is about to remarry, and this family's about to be blended, and that incites a trip to the moon.
We've all been there, Jim.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, speaking of former Disney guys, Peter DeBroge of Variety interviewed Dean Dubois. The topic of the live-action Lilo and Stitch that Disney's got in the works came up, and did you see this piece?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting too, because I've heard from people that Lilo and Stitch is supposed to start shooting by the end of the year. So this is imminent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dean said, I'm not interested in the live action remakes. I haven't seen many of them. They're made by capable filmmakers, and I don't want to disparage any of the talent or the hard work that went into them. I just think that it's lazy on the part of the studio.
Well,
I'm not going to say that's wrong,
No. I mean, honestly, that's what you got to love about Dean. You get truth, and in fact, what I love about this article, he was completely upfront about, how the original Lilo was Chris Sanders' baby. You've heard the stories about how he did the pitch where he literally created a storybook that he handed out to the execs,
Yes.
just sort of like laying out the style of the film and the characters, and go on, talk about what he said about Lilo and Stitch in the interview.
Well, he said Lilo and Stitch has such a quirky, singular voice. It's Chris's sensibility and a story that is very personal to him. Chris's voice is so specific that the idea of another team coming in to remake it as a live-action movie without Chris or any of us involved is kind of crazy. And I agree.
No. Again, not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Half of what makes the original a hand-drawn, animated Lilo and Stitch work is its lovely left-handed quality. But he then goes on to basically say that, he understands why Disney's doing this. This is really more about merch.
Yeah.
The way he closes out the interview, where he talks about how he just doesn't get why Disney would devote so much money into creating a live-action remake of an animated film. Like, I would rather see them do something original. It just bugs me that how well-to-do Disney Studios is, how capable they are of taking risks, and then to watch Disney not take risks. And again, not wrong, though. Just this week, Diz Insider broke the story about Encanto.
Yes. And everything that I've heard lines up with this report. So
No.
I would never go out of my way to confirm, but it seems true that yeah. So it's Byron Howard and Jared Bush, who are two of the filmmakers behind Zootopia, and Jared Bush also wrote Moana. It's set in Brazil, and a young girl and her family have magical powers, but the young girl doesn't have powers. So it's about her sort of coming to terms with that, which I think is kind of a fun inversion of the the Harry Potter narrative where he's got powers.
Great. Yeah.
I don't know if you read my write up of it, but I thought, oh, Brazil makes perfect sense, and it also makes sense why we didn't get the Brazil announcement this year at D23 was because they were waiting for a movie to tie into it. So I think we will be seeing that Brazilian pavilion very soon, Jim. Although we've had this situation before, right, with Spain and Gigantic.
Did I ever send you that slide for Epcot's future plans? They laid out the next 5 years.
Oh, yes, I think you did.
Okay, because Brazil was part of that.
Right.
What was also featured on that deck was the Coco redo of the Three Caballeros ride in the Mexico Pavilion.
I think that could still happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, but that had a price tag of $70 million. And for some odd reason, that didn't go through. Now, mind you, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind did. There was also a Doctor Strange thing for Epcot that fell off the table. I would love for this to be the thing, especially if this film succeeds, to finally get, a new land. What is it?
Pavilion. Pavilion.
Norway was 88. Was that how long ago our last new pavilion was in?
Wow. Not good.
All right. Although something that I thought looked good. Did you see these early images from Aya and the Witch?
Yeah. It's a different look for Studio Ghibli, that's for sure. It's completely computer generated. This is Goro Miyazaki, right?
Yeah, that Hayao's son.
Right. It's always funny to hear him talk about how his dad was never around when he was growing up. He said as a dad he's a zero. As a filmmaker, he's much better.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up because the word that's coming out of Studio Ghibli, again, this is Goro's movie, but Dad is credited with the film's planning?
Yes. Well, I mean, he's been credited as that before. He was credited as that on Arrietty and also from up on Poppy Hill, I want to say.
Okay.
So he's done it before. I don't know what it means exactly, but yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go because it's on Japanese television in the fall, but you have a theory though.
We're only working off of these 6 images or thereabouts they put out there, but it has kind of a Kiki's Delivery Serious Ponyo vibe, at least to me.
Yes.
Also, we have basically the entire Studio Ghibli library right now on HBO Max, so wouldn't it stand to reason that after it airs on Japanese television, that would eventually slide over to HBO Max?
I would love that. Did you see that Scoob is already coming onto HBO Max?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
June 26th.
Okay.
So
I've been seeing some amazing pieces of concept art continue to bubble up from that, especially given the stuff that didn't make it into Scoob. I'm really hoping they do get the sequel greenlit because there's some really fun ideas there.
Yeah.
The double back for Sector Anya and the Witch supposed to be shown at Cannes this year, but again, so was Pixar's Soul. And when's the last time we heard anything about that?
Jim, how many question marks do we have in terms of movies in general, but also Disney's slate? Like, do we really think Mulan is going to open next month? That seems insane to me.
Yeah. I forget which rep for the studio was talking about, they're like, we're very confident given that Tenet is going out ahead of us. That'll be the canary in the coal mine, and we'll know what to expect, opening the next weekend with Mulan. And of course, that didn't happen, or isn't going to happen now. Mulan is now in the lead position. And just this past week, just to watch all of the negative press, the pylon for AMC, where it's like, it's too political to insist that people wear masks and how they had to go into full retreat. So, what is it? As of today, they've rescinded that, right?
Yeah.
You have to wear a mask.
You want to know something funny, Jim? Somebody posted the email address of the CEO and president yesterday. And I sent him an email and I said, this is crazy. We're going to cancel our AMCs, whatever. And he actually wrote me back today. And he said, he said, Drew, we've heard you. And he sent along the press release. So, I mean, I give him credit for that. I mean, who knows how many of those emails he got. And he responded. And that means a lot to me. So
it takes a big guy to admit that they made a mistake. And the interesting thing is because they bent on this issue, Regal bent on this issue. And I think Alamo all the way through was like, no, folks are going to have to wear masks to come back into theaters. So,
Right.
okay, given what you've read about the social distancing and, simplified menus and that sort of thing, are you headed back next month?
I mean, I will be headed back if my job demands it of me, but I am in no hurry to go back. I mean, you and I have heard things about things being locked down again by the end of the month. So, I mean, I'm not, we're only halfway through June, it's like we've got so much more to go. And
I know. And in 2020, a startling reversal is not a startling reversal. It's like, oh, well, things have suddenly changed. That means it's Tuesday.
Right.
That's the world we live in
Well,
now.
and everything is so much can be changed so quickly. It's not like we're striking prints and getting them out to theaters and this and that. It's like literally you turn on a switch on a Thursday, Mulan is in the system, and that's all the kind of prep you need, and so I don't know why they wouldn't be flexible, and it's like, if they're not ready, they're not ready. If people aren't going to go, they're not going to go. And, we just kind of wait it out. But, it is sad. I would have been at Comic-Con this week and we would have had Annecy.
Well, now it's interesting you bring that up because you got to see the panel that they did over there for Connected, the new Sony animation project. And you loved that, right?
I loved it, Jim. I thought it was amazing looking. I really do think that this is their next Spider-Verse. It's so stylistically different. In fact, it even has some of those elements that Glenn was working on in terms of virtual brush strokes and virtual pen lines and things like Emanata, the kind of comic booky expressions. And, there's a mixture of 2D and 3D. And there's even things where like an object or a model will look different on close up than it will in a wide shot, which is like classic 2D animation, but you never see that in sort of mainstream theatrical features ever.
Well, I love the example you cited for me, the Ren and Stimpy.
Yes.
The hyper detailed close-ups that they would do on Ren and Stimpy to just jar you, over the course of a cartoon.
It's not quite like that, but like there's a shot of the dad in the car, and he's got kind of a furry collared coat, and the kind of the line work on the coat is totally crazy and close up, and then you look at it from afar, and it looks just sort of like a regular coat, but there really is that emphasis, that exaggeration, that push and pull. And like I said in my write-up, I think what makes it sort of more groundbreaking is the fact that it's being applied to a story about a family. Obviously, there is a robot uprising, but it's a much more kind of traditional animated movie storyline that they're putting all of this extra stylization on top of and embroidering it with it. And to me, that is awesome because it's not set in a comic book world. It's not this crazy, alternate reality. It's today, but they've pumped it up in such a fascinating way. So
what else are you going to do Annecy-wise? Because Disney's got that Into the Unknown Making Frozen 2 panel coming up on the 24th? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to be, I think they're doing that as a press conference as well here. So I think I'll be watching that. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Lupin the Third. That's out the window.
Yeah. A couple of pieces of that have showed up online just recently, and it's crazy.
It looks so
action
beautiful.
Scenes.
Ugh.
It does. But you want to talk about G-Kids grabbed the North American theatrical release rights back in March, just as COVID was descending.
Yeah.
We're all in that gray area now. It's like, nobody knows when or where this is going to come out. But again, I guess they're going to be screening it there in competition at Annecy, and it's like they're also going to be making the first episode of Into the Unknown available on the 26th, I want to say.
Okay.
It's like, oh, well, that's great. Yet they get to see one episode where if you have Disney Plus on the 26th, all 6 episodes of this docuseries drop.
And I think I can talk about it now.
Okay.
I love this show so much. I love it. It's so good. We'll talk about it on the next episode, I'm sure. But it is wonderful.
How early do they start?
It's a year before production.
Okay. Year before production.
Yes. So yes, the JL is not profiled at all.
Okay. Wanted to know.
I saw you walking
all
along
right.
those eggshells, Jim, and I just wanted to.
Okay. Thank you. Let's talk about the other news of the day. So Weta announces they're going to start making animated films. And I think you and I both had the same reaction to the effect of, haven't they been making animated films all along?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I would love to know what the Adventures of Tintin is, if not an animated film, Jim.
if you look at the amount of animation from Peter Jackson's supersized version of King Kong, is exactly double the length of the original film from 33. By the time that film's over, you know, you are running to the bathroom.
Right.
And likewise, the supersized version of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And speaking of the Hobbit, we lost Ian Holm just today. And
I think his last movie was one of the Hobbit movies.
I believe so. I believe so. But you were the one who pointed out earlier today that he's Skinner in Ratatouille.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that performance that makes me think of the physical, you know, Ian Holm.
Mm-hmm. He could literally do it all.
Yeah.
You brought up Time Bandits. He was also in Brazil. Naked Lunch. Yep. He has that great scene with Peter Weller where he says, "This entire conversation is being held telepathically." Where they're just talking out loud. I mean, he's an amazing Fifth Element. I mean, what a guy.
Yeah, it's such a loss to leave that kind of body of work behind. I mean, speaking of things and people that we lost too soon, when Drew and I get back, we're going to take a look at Walt Disney Feature Animation Florida.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
A couple of quick animation news items before we get to the feature. Drew, I actually did something I promised I'd do. I went and looked at the BMO thing that you said so many nice things about on the last episode. And you're right. I mean, it looks like a really fun expansion, so to speak, of the Adventure Time universe.
Yeah.
I love how it just throws away like 5 different ideas that any other animated series would have built an entire episode out of. Just in this opening scene. It's like, thing that eats a comet. Moving on.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so cute. It's really cute. I can't wait to see it.
But just the tease sequence at the moment, or the start before the titles, where you're rolling through the insides of BMO and they do the CG version of his, interior.
Yeah.
I mean, killer
really
work.
Cool.
If this is the first of the Adventure Times for HBO Max, can't wait to see the other 3.
Yeah.
And speaking of HBO Max, you were kind enough to pass along the trailer for Close Enough, the new adult animated series from a regular show creator, J.G. Quintel. I'm watching this and it's like, where have I seen this before? It kind of hit me. It's like, wow, this is Duncanville, only dirtier. Which isn't, I don't mean that as a slam. I actually like Duncanville.
Me too.
It's got good writing, fun animation. Glad it got picked up for a new season. There's been a lot of adult animation lately that includes and we have a small child that we're really bad at raising.
Well, it's sort of interesting. It's sort of the opposite of the Adventure Time, where it's literally something that I'm sure could have been made as a single camera sitcom that they just decided to do in animation, which is sort of, I'm not so into that, but I love regular show. I'm very tempted to give this a shot. And obviously I love any kind of new primetime me. You don't have to watch it in primetime anymore, Jim, because it's streaming, so you can watch it whenever you want. But, that kind of like, elevated animated series, I'm very into it. And I think the art style looks good. I'm excited.
Yeah, same thing here. Now, the Jodie, the news of the Daria spinoff that's headed to Comedy Central. You and I were pre-gaming and talking about the fact that we don't remember the character of Jodie on Daria.
I don't remember any character of color on Daria, I'm sad to say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. You know, you brought up that Tracy Ellis Ross, who's really having a moment right now with Blackish and Mixed-ish and The High Note, right?
Yeah. But again, it's what they pitch it as basically a workplace comedy about your first job out of college, and you end up at a tech company and you have to learn how to navigate office politics and be wary of social media. And it's very much the world of today, or at least it was until we were all forced into our homes,
Right.
Because of COVID-19.
I was going to say, there are no video stores anymore, so that would not be, no one is working in a video store anymore out of college. No.
There you go. So, all right.
Well, did you think it was interesting that they're pairing it with Comedy Central and that Viacom has this new kind of overall approach to animation where it's an MTV character on a Comedy Central platform? I thought that was sort of interesting.
Yeah. I also, they're talking about pairing this with South Park.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Yeah.
that I love me some South Park, but especially lately.
South Park is getting very white and very old. It is true. Much like yourself, Jim.
Yes, every day I look in the mirror. It's like, who is this saggy old gray bastard? Oh, God, it's me. So, on the other hand, I look at less and less like Cartman. So, life goes on. Okay, Solar Opposites got picked up for season 3. So for all of us Rick and Morty fans, that's a good thing.
You got to watch season 1, Jim. I got to tell you. That'll be your homework for this week.
Okay, I will do that. On the other hand, Crossing Swords, for me, this was almost out of the Disney Channel playbook where they would renew the show before the first episode airs.
Right.
Just sort of like, season 2, this is how confident we are in it. Whereas you were talking about the fact that it got picked up for season 2 1 week after the first episode aired, and you just explained, yeah, it's good, but there's another reason, right?
Well, I think that Hulu just needs content, and these are the only 2 adult animated shows on Hulu. So, I feel like they just need to pump some more stuff out, and I'm sure that Crossing Swords takes for freaking ever to animate, so they probably need to get on it sooner rather than later. Is my other assumption.
That's Stupid Buddies, right? The stop motion house.
Which have you been watching the Disney Gallery Mandalorian show?
I have, and I love that Favreau. I'm blanking the name of the creature, but
they're called Blurgs, Jim, and they first appeared
the
in
Blurgs.
Ewoks Battle for Endor. I think that was Dan Z's favorite Star Wars movie, actually. But
wow. That is really some nerd card carrying. That is a great I am honestly proud of you that you were able to deliver that in one solid. Well, absolutely. As king of the nerds, I applaud that. But yeah, I love that Favreau just felt that, we have to have it look like stop motion at some point in this because this is where that character came from.
Yeah. And I also love that John Knoll, who is the visual effects supervisor, said, I don't know if this is going to work. And it did. I had no idea, but I love that they're in there. I think there's only a couple of shots where they're stop motion, but really, really cool.
Well, I literally sent a note this morning to our buddy Dan Z and said that, I just finished watching the last of the 8 episodes of Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian. I almost enjoyed the behind the scenes thing more than I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
I really loved The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I love Favreau's story about how basically The Mandalorian is your brother took all of the good characters. All right. So you're trying to tell a Star Wars story with the weird little bounty hunter and the Ugnaughts, and that they came up with this story.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I love that thing about the Kenner troop transport.
Same thing. But again, it's entertainment for nerds being made by nerds. So it was like, and also that footage of the 501, how they blew their mind by bringing them, they went from watching Star Wars movies to being in Star Wars for television, but even so.
Really cool.
Okay, you just blew an entire segment I'm doing on Looking at Lucasfilm next week.
I'll be there too, Jim. Whenever you're ready, I'll pop in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, folks, we alluded to the fact that we want to talk about feature animation Florida, which really only existed almost 15 years. The studio basically got up and running in late 88. The very first people got there and, were working on projects a little bit before Disney-MGM opened in May 1st, 89. But if you go back all the way to the announcement in 85, back when the project was called Disney-MGM Studio Tour, they actually talk about how the tour, which will combine walking with a tram ride, will feature great moments at the movies. Part of the tour will include a visit to the animation building, where guests will get a first-hand view of Disney artists at work going through the many steps of creating an animated film, and which, of course, brings us to the Fishbowl. Do you remember that from many times visiting the studio?
Oh,
right?
yes, Jim. Yes. I love this studio, and I'm so happy we're talking about it. And we're also getting a little preview. If nobody was tuned into Jim's Disneyana convention last week, this is a kind of truncated version of one of your presentations, right? So I'm so excited to hear all about this.
Yes, I'm recycling stuff. Are you happy
Jim,
now?
you're being green, okay? You're being green, okay?
There we go. Okay, okay, I'll take that. The weird thing was when they initially announced they were going to open the second satellite production facility, they, of course, go to the guys in Burbank who are working at the classic Walt Disney Animation Studio. Well, at this point, they're no longer on the lot. They're in that warehouse, right?
Yeah.
Across from Imagineering with all the bugs falling out of the ventilator shafts.
Which is now the archives.
Yeah, that is the weirdest bend on the story. In fact, was it on one of the Disney Insiders where it was Andreas and Bernie Mattinson were going through there, right?
Yes.
And Bernie at one point pointed, that used to be my office.
I got to go there for a press day, have you ever been in that building?
I have. Fox Carney was nice enough to bring me in one afternoon.
Yeah, it's a very weird building.
Were they working on the Diamonds project there when you were there?
No.
They've got this weird thing that they're doing there that basically they're trying to digitize every single piece of art they've got in the building. The problem is just sticking to the hand-drawn and the concept paintings and that sort of thing. It's 60 million pieces of art.
Yeah. Did they show you how they're capturing it too with like all those cameras? And I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the people who are working on it now know that it won't be completed while they're there at the archive. This is a multiple decades long project. They've actually decided, well, let's start with the films that people really will probably want to reference. So when I was there, they were doing Snow White, and right behind that, they were going to do Pinocchio. But it's, as you described, they lay down the piece of art. They have to light it just the right way. They have to shoot it with these high-res cameras and get each image.
Yeah. And each layer too, right? They were showing like, you want to see it with the coffee cup stain? Here it is, It's like, oh my God. And the fact that it's not publicly available, it's only internally available. I think I think it's only available to DCP and to Pixar and Walt Disney Feature Animation employees. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
When they're done, what an amazing resource.
Yes.
But at the same time, when I was talking with them, it's like, well, what do you do now in this world of Disney is doing CG? What do you do with the wireframe? What do you do with the rendering? Can he kind of blink to me? It's like, we're working that out.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out.
Well, they also have a lot of dimensional stuff too. Like there's Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. There's Frankenweenie stuff.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, we're off topic, Jim. But sorry about that.
We are off topic. Though oddly enough, again, this is the building that they go into to try to recruit people to go to Florida. And everybody's like, I have a house here in California. I have parents that I have to take care of. My kids are in school.
Right.
In the end, isn't it just Mark Henn who's willing to relocate? And seriously, Mark had only started at Disney Animation back in 1980. So, he was relatively young into his career and he could move. But this meant that in order to staff up the studio, they were getting a lot of kids straight out of school.
Yeah.
They were enthusiastic, but they didn't necessarily have a lot of experience. And so as a direct result, it was like, well, we can't really put these guys to work on their own film yet, but we can do shorts. And in fact, what was it? The first short that was made there was Roller Coaster Rabbit, right?
Yes.
Rob Minkoff.
Which played in front of
Dick Tracy.
It all comes back, Jim.
It all comes back. And again, by the way, I love the fact that you did mention in that article that ticked off Steven Spielberg and potentially derailed everything that they were going to do with Roger Rabbit
true.
after that.
It's sad, but true. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so they finished the short. And so at this time, you may remember the Prince and the Pauper, the Mickey Mouse featurette that ran in front of Rescuers Down Under. The plan was at Disney that was the first of a series. They'd already lined up the next two. In fact, the next three, in fact, again, to double back to another great Drew Taylor story, the one you did about the Goofy movie. Mm-hmm. Remember how Kevin Lima talked about the thing that he was working on, the Goofy of the Apes?
Yes.
That was supposed to be another featurette.
Okay.
They were going to follow the Prince and Pauper with Mickey's Arabian Adventure, which was going to be, the idea was that was going to be put with Aladdin.
Okay.
Then for 93, they were going to put out a Mickey as Christopher Columbus to honor the 500th anniversary of Columbus discovering America, which would have gone over so well today.
That was going to be in front of 1492 Conquest for Paradise. Right?
Oh, wow.
I am Gerard Depardieu, Christopher Columbus. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Tom Selleck is Ferdinand? Who is?
He was in the other one. He was in Christopher Columbus: The Discovery.
My mistake.
Do you remember there were two Christopher Columbus movies that came out at the same time?
Okay, because we really needed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There were so many unanswered questions.
Yes.
But anyway, so they're working on the feature when suddenly word comes down the pipe, like, hold everything, stop. We are behind schedule. We are ridiculously behind schedule on Beauty and the Beast, and you guys need to do a sequence for us. And the sequence they gave them was Kill the Beast, which, if you remember from the film, it's Gaston riles up the villagers and they march through the forest and they get to the Beast Castle and knock down the door with a log while they're singing. And, again, the guys at the studio were thrilled. They were finally going to get into the big leagues. To this day, I can't get a straight answer as to what exactly happened, how this happened.
There were some big animators on that too, Jim. Like people that are still at the studio right now. Mm-hmm. So we got to track. I think Alex Cooperschmidt. Have you ever talked to him? He's great. I think he worked on that scene. So we'll figure it out, Jim.
Okay, because as the story goes, folks, somehow the crew in Florida. I mean, remember, you've met these villagers in Beauty and the Beast. You've seen them in the opening scene where, bonjour, 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 the whole 7-minute long bell number. So you're meeting them again when, Gaston goes and riles them up. But here's the thing. The folks in Florida hadn't seen the finished footage. They were working off of the model sheets that they had been sent for the villagers. And to this day, nobody understands how this happened, but they got the old model sheets. The character design had advanced over the course of the film, but they're going off of the old model sheets, and so they put together their version of Kill the Beast, and they're sending the footage back out to California, and California's like, what the hell is going wrong? Why don't your characters look like our characters? And it's like, well, we're working off the model sheets that you guys sent us. They had to do, out ahead of the November 1991 release of Beauty and the Beast, this really come from behind rescue mission. And as you were pointing out earlier, Drew, it didn't entirely work. No. The villagers still, the villagers in the middle of the movie do not look like the villagers at the beginning of the film. And once they get inside the Beast Castle and have that elaborate slapstick fight, they look different again.
Yeah.
They look more like the villagers from the beginning. But again, success forgives all mistakes. And Beauty, the original hand-drawn version of Beauty and the Beast, huge success, first animated film nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. So it's like, okay, all right, we're willing to overlook this happens, but we also now need your help on Lion King. Mm-hmm. So what they do is, but having, it's like, let's give them something that if it's a little off-modeled, it won't bite us in the ass. And that's how they ended up with Just Can't Wait to Be King, because the entire art direction of that sequence is different than the rest of the movie. You know, it's light, it's crazy, it's based on African folk art, crazy color palette, and lucky for the folks in Florida, it's one of the big breakout numbers of the film, considered a hugely successful sequence. So finally, the folks in California are like, all right, okay, we're going to give you your own feature. Even then, it was like, but there were terms and conditions. And, you know, the terms and conditions are, we're looking to build a theme park in China, probably first in Hong Kong, but we're definitely also looking at the mainland. So we would really love to have an animated feature with a Chinese character, a strong female Chinese character. And we've got this epic poem from 420 AD, the Legend of Mulan, and let's see what you guys can do with this. And I tell you what, we'll save the story for how they did Mulan down in Florida and all of the trials and tribulations that project had for another fine tuning further down the line. Hopefully, about the same time that Mulan gets released to theaters,
Yes.
which we don't think is going to happen in July, do we?
Well, can I do not, but can I add a little Beauty and the Beast trivia to the Florida studio?
Absolutely.
So remember,
Absolutely.
we have to go back to the beginning, too, because the magic of Disney animation is where they infamously screened the Purnham version of Beauty and the Beast that they were working on in England. And that's when they said, no way, can this go forward?
You're right.
Remember,
Holy
that was
cow.
the site of that infamous screening where they watched 20 minutes of the movie and shut down the production and handed it to two guys, Kirk and Gary, who I've become very good friends with over the past week doing this article.
Yeah, oh my God. And they were down
They were in Florida. Yeah, they were working
at
on
that time
Yeah.
because that's where Cranium Command.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. No, that's a great. See, this is why I have them the show. I mean, other than, of course, the Toy Story thing, which I'm willing to overlook.
Thank God I redeemed myself. What a roller coaster in this one episode, Jim.
All right. But Drew does so much more than improperly ranking Toy Story films. He also runs a wonderful podcast about the Mission Impossible film franchise, Light the Fuse. And you've got another fun episode with that coming up shortly.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think that people who listen to this show should definitely listen to that show. There's a lot of crossover. And for the next 4 weeks, we have two genuine legends of animation we're talking to. We're talking to Roger Guyette from ILM, who, worked on Rango and Ready Player One and all these amazing movies, and was the visual effects supervisor for Mission Impossible 3. And then after that, a really cool interview with Gary Rydstrom, who is a legend. He has won 7 Academy Awards. He won 2 Academy Awards in the same year, Jim. So he is amazing, and he actually talks a little bit about Newt.
Oh.
And he talks about some theme park stuff, and when I asked, I said, were the aliens in Lifted, which is just the short film he directed for Pixar, were those the original models for the goo people in Wall-E? And he said, yes, they were. He said, you are the only person to ever bring that up, but that is 100% what they are.
Holy cow, what a great catch.
Yeah,
Oh.
so anyway, it's
Okay.
great. His description
You
of
were-
Newt is fantastic. Like, what they were trying to do was really different, and so you're gonna wanna listen to that. And he's amazing. He's a great guy.
He has so many great showbiz
But
stories.
speaking about bad takes, Jim, you agreed with Len that Silence of the Lambs should not have won the Best Picture Academy Award in 1992.
My argument is that it ran so early in the year.
It ran
was
even
out in
earlier
theaters-
than you said too, because it opened on
March?
it opened on Valentine's Day weekend in 1991.
Oh, well.
Take a date
Boy.
and scare their pants off, Jim.
Oh, my God. Okay, you found the through line. Right, that okay. Now I get where the studio exec was going with that release date. But, oh, God, that even earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, wow.
Also, JFK is great too. That was a good year for movies. I cannot believe Bugsy weaseled its way in there into the top 5, but
Well, that's really is more Warren than anything. I mean, nobody, worked award season quite like Warren.
Yeah, just look at that Howard Hughes movie.
Or-
Which I actually
okay.
I went to it. I think the very first screening of that movie on the Fox lot, and you're right. He was outside the theater shaking hands and kissing babies. And good Lord, that movie. Did you ever see it, Jim?
I did. It has amazing production design. I mean, he nailed the period. But for how long had he been working on a Howard Hughes movie? And this ultimately was the story he decided to do?
Yeah.
Just kind of broke my heart.
Yeah,
so
it's terrible. Anyway.
Well, again, all right. So please put that on the calendar show. Those are, folks, cannot miss episodes of Light the Fuse. And on our side events, we also got some stuff you might enjoy. We got Disney Dish with Len Testo. We got Looking at Lucasfilm with Dan Z. Marvelous Disney with Aaron Adams. And this weekend, I have to get a hold of Dustin. We need to knock out a new Universal joint, and likewise, Shelley Valladolid. We're long overdue to do a new I Want That. So, going to be a busy time. Lots of new product heading your way, and yes, there is still the sorry you missed it, and I am working on it, and we will get this done. Otherwise,
oh my God,
Drew Taylor will travel 3,000 miles and kill me.
I know.
Feed me to the bear that keeps walking through my yard. So anyway, folks, if you could do Drew and I a favor, if you could head over to iTunes and rate and recommend the shows, that helps raise their profile and get us additional listeners. Likewise, if you really, really like what you heard here, go to bandcamp.com and subscribe. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, Toy Story 2 does not deserve to be 7th. I'm just saying.